to that and did you get that? They actually posted around and
You guys are way down there.
It goes.
If he was coming.
I haven't heard. I'm not gonna be at the next meeting. I'm gonna be gone, but I haven't heard anything from him. I didn't see anything on the.
That's great. I think that's what I had. Yes, sir. We're doing all right. I do. Remind me of the names. That's right.
Seen you for ages.
That's true.
You look good.
Well, thank you. Compared to what's happening, I feel pretty good. So, where are you at now, Mitch?
I'm right over here in Aspen Meadows.
Oh, you're doing.
Yeah.
Where were you before that?
Well, let's see. Long story short, I was.
So we need a motion to do
Okay, very good. It's good to see you. Right?
Well, Bill, Jeff, too.
Yes. Hello, brother. How are you? Oh, it's so good to see you.
I think so.
What's that? Let's see.
Smiling age.
Are you doing that one also?
Yeah, we didn't get the water
You ready?
We're ready to go, yeah.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to Planning and Zoning Meeting, March 10th, 2022. We'd like to welcome the commission. Jeff's not here. Don't know where he is, so hopefully he'll show up sometime. We're going to have an opening ceremony, and then we've just asked Kenny Reese, our new commission member, to just take a minute and introduce himself after opening ceremony. Okay. All right. So we will have a flag pledge by Kenny Reese and a prayer by Eric.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we are thankful for the opportunity we have to peacefully assemble here this evening. Grateful for our city and all those who care for it. We are thankful for the many good things in our lives, for the moisture that we have received this week. We are thankful for the liberties that we enjoy. We pray that we might be able to be wise in our deliberations, do those things that will be in the best interest of the city and our citizens. We would pray for the additional water that we need. We would pray at this time as well, as there are conflicts around the world, especially in Ukraine, that leaders of countries might be wise and that they might be able to come together to discuss and resolve the issues that are there in those conflicts. We pray that, again, we might be amicable with each other and be able to discuss the various views and the business that we have before us tonight and be wise in our proceedings. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Kenny.
Okay. My name is Kenny Reese, and this is my second commission meeting here. I live and work here in North Logan, so I've worked for 20 years now at the Space Dynamics Laboratory, and I've lived here in North Logan since 2010 also. So my kids go to school here. I have 4 kids, 3 of which go to school at Green Canyon High School, and then 1 that goes to Edith Bowen up on campus. So I'm happy to serve on this commission in a city that has given so much to me and my family. So I think that's it.
Hey, thank you. Welcome again, the second time.
Thank
Kenny.
you.
Yeah. I feel like everybody's far away from me, COVID or something. Huh? If Jeff doesn't come, I'm taking his treats. That's it. Okay, we need an adoption to, and we need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda with
Oh, yes.
the one deletion of
Yes,
what was item 4.
but first we needed a motion to remove that.
That's perfect. Eric's doing it. Yeah.
Okay,
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt the agenda with the motion to remove item number 4 to a further date. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay.
Yes, I second it.
Okay, we need to approve the minutes from, what was it? December 16th, 2021. Hopefully you've had a chance to read over those. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move we adopt the minutes as published.
A second?
Karen White will second it.
Okay, so Dwight made a motion to approve the minutes. Karen seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Spencer, follow-up issues from our previous meetings?
Yes, a couple of things. So the first being the post-division approval ordinance, those revisions we made, city council reviewed that ordinance and approved those. They just wanted me to pass on a thank you from them for looking into that. Also, that digital submittal passed as well. And they had a discussion similar to the one we had on the veterinary hospital in the SF6 zone by the city center. I think it went very similarly to the planning commission. I think a lot of city council members were excited about that prospect. Also, just focused and paying close attention to the housing element, the number of units, the type of units, and basically gave that advice going forward, very similar to what planning commission did. The concept seems to be something we're interested in exploring, barring or pending and making sure the housing is still going to fit, have a good buffer. There was a lot of discussion as well on where if there was a dog park or how to mitigate other nuisances as far as that goes. So just to give you a heads up there, it was just a discussion, still no application. It would come before you and have a public hearing if we get to that point.
Okay, thank you, Spencer. All right, we will move on to our public hearing, item number 1. Before our public hearing begins, I need to read you the rules. Oh, that's right.
I'll give
I'm
a-
sorry, Spencer.
I'll give a little
Yes.
background.
We don't want to ignore you.
Yes, so this is 2.7 acres. So just to give a little bit of context, it's this parcel here, right north of the existing Aspen Meadows subdivision. And there are a couple other existing subdivisions around on 400 East and about 2700 North. Like I said, it is 2.17 acres. Currently, that land is zoned, that land and all of the land around it adjacent across the street is zoned for residential single family, 12,000 square foot lots. That's R112 is the abbreviation. So you can see that's what's all the way around. This black line here is the boundary with Hyde Park. And yeah, just this parcel is being considered. The zoning currently would allow maximum density, zoning density wise would be 7 lots. According to our density determinant calculator. Those would all have to meet this required widths and frontages as well. So they might not be able to get all 7 under current zoning. The request for number of lots is to be rezoned to our RM zone, which is multifamily residential. It's actually an older zone. We haven't used it in a rezone in some time. It's the same zone that we have some existing apartments in, east of Walmart, North Point, those types of things. The code and zoning on that RM other, there are a few different allowed or RM zones going from 3 plexes up to 4 plexes. And it's written in a way that essentially the city council determines a lot of the factors at the time of subdivision. They'll determine setbacks and things like that. The applicant has expressed that they would like to lay it out with 4 5-plexes. So it would be 20 units. But like I said, with the rezone, that number in that zone would be decided at a later date if it were to be rezoned. There's no site plan attached to it. It's not required with a rezone. Sometimes they are submitted, but not required. As far as existing development around, the development to the north and south is all developed very close to that R112 zone, or at that R112 zone, excuse me. Across the street is zoned R112. It was built before that zoning, so it does have some multifamily units over there that were built a long time ago, one of the earliest subdivisions in the city. And that zoning was changed. So those are essentially grandfathered in. Legal non-conforming is the code specific use. Yeah, so that's essentially the background on the parcel, existing zoning, and what it would be changed to if the application is approved.
Spencer, what's the zoning to the east property there?
That's in Hyde Park. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with their zoning. It's A1. Let me see if I can. It just says agricultural 1 acre lots is what that is. A lot of Hyde Park is either 1 acre or ½ acre. I don't think they have much that's more dense than that. Yeah, unless there's an exception. So.
Okay. Thank you, Spencer. All right. Read to you the rules here. Before you begin, please state your name. If you have something you'd like to say, before you begin, please state your name for the record. Please speak into the microphone so that your comments can be heard. Please limit your statement to 2 minutes. Can I have a timekeeper over here? Somebody? Okay. If you're also speaking on behalf of others, you may ask the chairman for more time. Please phrase your opinions in the form of statements and not questions. A public hearing is your opportunity to express your opinions to the Planning Commission. It is not a time to ask questions and expect dialogue between yourself and the commission or city staff. Please address your comments to the commission, not the public. The commission might ask questions about your comments in order for them to better understand you. If you have questions or need to discuss an issue, please meet with the Planning Commission members or the appropriate city staff member before the public hearing where dialogue can take place. You may provide a written statement as your input for a hearing. You may read your entire statement or summarize it. The 2-minute limit applies. You may provide a copy of a written statement to the city recorder. He will make copies for the commission. Written comments, if a copy is provided, become a part of the public record, but are not included in the minutes of the meeting. So with that, is somebody gonna time for us? Okay. We'd like to open this up for a public comments if anyone has one.
I'm Scott Bennett. I'm a North Logan City resident, and I appreciate you being on the Planning Commission and considering these type of things. I know you have to consider applications like this, but on this particular piece with things that are around it, rezoning it doesn't make sense because, you know, it's single family R12 on the north side and the south side. And consider that you'll be, if you rezone it, going from maybe 10 or 15 cars going in and out of there to 20 to 35 cars going in and out of there. It's kind of a small place. And when you consider something going in here, please consider the connection and offset of the road right across the street. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Hi, my name is Mitch Schiffman. I am the HOA president of the Aspen Meadows subdivision that's just south of this proposed property. And we have a petition to deny the spot zoning of this particular property. Scott Bennett's also one of our residents in the subdivision, so that's his comments of what I agree with too. So I don't know if you want this petition, we'll
take it. Thank you.
How many signatures?
We can. Yes. go ahead.
Okay, I'm Rochelle Hubsmith. I've been in the real estate field for 21 years. I work for Cache County as an appraiser in the Cache County Assessor's Office. And my home happens to be parcel 4174 and 4 right there on the corner. So this will be right in my backyard. So what I want to talk to you about is just that you can't spot zone. You know, we've got residential all around there. And so spot zoning is just not something that's usually acceptable in neighborhoods. You don't want to just have all these single family homes and then have your multifamily right in the midst of that. It's disruptive to neighborhoods. 4th East right there has always been a natural boundary for multifamily. So across the street, there is some multifamily that's been grandfathered in, like he mentioned before, but it's legal non-conforming now. I'm sure back then the residents didn't care that those multifamily were going in because they were out surrounded by fields. There were only fields on the north side and on the east side of that. But now it's surrounded by homes. So you can see that it really just doesn't make sense to put it there. Also, one of the biggest problems I see with the townhomes that are on the west side of 4th East, there's not enough parking. So I'm always seeing residents parking over here at this park. So that would be another problem that would happen if you develop that parcel. There wouldn't be enough parking. You know, maybe you might have 1 or 2 places for the residents, but when they have visitors, there's nowhere to park. So they're going to have to go over to that park and flood up the parking at the park. And it just really doesn't make sense to have more traffic right there. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Maureen Sorensen, and I'm actually over on 300 East, so I'm not super close to that area, but I do work in the school systems. And when I heard that they were talking about more multifamily housing, just knowing I've worked at North Park, I've worked at Cedar Ridge. Right now I'm at, or Greenville. Right now I'm out at Cedar Ridge, and I just look at the numbers that we have that are impacting our schools. And the more multi-housing we bring in, the more kids we're going to bring in. And our system is already flooded right now. I think we owe it to our families to take care of the ones that are there instead of causing another problem with it. And I totally agree with the housing or with the parking. It's scary to try to go down on 2700 North and try to get in there. There's no place to park. There's kids that are running out. If you've got a multi-housing area in there, you're going to have a lot of little kids again with a tight little area of people coming in and out, and it is just not safe for our children. So let's look out for the children. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Elisa Bartlett. I'm also a part of the Aspen Meadows HOA. I am the vice president, and I was one of the ones who went around and collecting signatures. So I figured I'd submit the concerns that the residents had told me about. The biggest concerns were the parking. We are very, very tight on parking all over the neighborhood, our neighborhood, and the multi-development housing or the multi-family housing across the way. Water is always a concern every year, and just adding more houses over the single family houses would put a larger strain on that. The schooling committee, or sorry, the schooling system is already overwhelmed. That's what I was trying to say. And the traffic concern was another large issue that was brought up because of the high school, especially. We get a lot of cars coming through at very specific times. And if we were to add multifamily housing there, we would not have enough parking, which was already brought up, but it would just add to the larger traffic problem that is already developing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Quick question, sorry. The HOA, and I'm making an assumption, but correct me if I'm wrong. If and when this parcel gets developed, will it be separate from the HOA that is Aspen Meadows?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Jake Green. I am also speaking on behalf of pretty much my whole street. I am lot 17410. My neighbor, the Hansons, are lot 7149. 17048 and 170007 cannot attend. This land is on a slope, and any house that is built behind my house has direct and indirect privacy issues, I feel, because I can look up the hill and see the backside of the Aspen Meadows, but also a safety issue. I worked in law enforcement. When you add 20 more units into a residential area that's already subdivided, there's going to be a lot more issues moving forward. The problem I see, not only for that, is the demand that it puts on North Park Police Department and the demand that it puts on that street. I have 4 kids. The Hubsmiths have 4 kids. The Anders have 5 kids, and walking along that road would be quite catastrophic for children. It already is because there's not a sidewalk on that side of the street. There are numerous times that I've seen trucks with trailers or boats or motorhomes parked along that parcel that haven't been ticketed, that have been there for long periods of time, because of the parking issue across the street. Basically, we vote no.
Thank you. Anyone else? I have a letter here from,
There's a gentleman there, I think.
oh, go ahead.
Come on,
Please read it yourself. Or tell us what you want to say.
I'm the one you're all mad at. I'm Chris Clarkson. We just barely purchased this parcel. So we've lived in North Logan before. The home we just sold is just north of here. It was on 2 acres. I understand the want for open space and all your concerns. We currently live in one of the Sierra townhomes, kind of in the south end, the city center adjacent kind of community. We've built and sold homes. In between each one, we've ended up in townhomes. So I think just looking down the agenda and kind of the idea of kind of what's going on, like we have multifamily, which it's not, I'm not just a big faceless developer who's going to cram a bunch of stuff in there and take off. I plan on an HOA, a nice, excuse me, I'm nervous. I've never had to do this. A nice community planned with the planning commission. Right now, a single family home is selling for like $500,000-$600,000. So the option for like younger families getting started out, and even townhomes are selling for $350,000 to $400,000, which is crazy. But I feel like you've got, that multifamily there, all those going to put in 100 lots or something just right here. So you got your 1/4 acre lots, and then the one that was like the second on the agenda or whatever is 1 acre lots higher on the hill. So I feel like it kind of follows that natural progression. Gives people the option to kind of get started in building some equity. As far as parking, like I said, we're not going to just cram as much in there as we can. I want it to be planned out, have decent garage spaces so you can fit 2 vehicles. You have enough space to have, visitors come in and park. Like I said, we've lived in townhomes in between, and we get all these concerns. I've never lived in a townhome community where like crime has just gone nuts. It's usually young families or people kind of in between. And that's, other than obviously west of there kind of has a bad rap, but that's kind of a development with no HOA.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Now, somebody else.
I'm Liz Carr. I'm also in the Aspen Meadows. I totally get where he's coming from with you want to put townhomes in so people can get started, but they have townhomes going in over on like 200, and just this road is so busy. I don't think adding 40 more cars coming and going, 2 for each household, would be very beneficial, because my kids walk along that road and they also go up to Green Canyon and go to Greenville. So for me, I'd rather only have 5 or 6 homes go in so my kids are safer, and just have anybody who wants to get in a townhome going over to like 200 East where they're having those already being built. And not on my road. So
Thank you.
I'm Kelsey Clarkson. I'm Chris's wife. So I get a lot of the same concerns as well. I also teach at Green Canyon High School, so I'm aware of the schooling and the numbers that are available there. But one of the things, you just brought up the safety concern. We lived over in Hyde Park. There's no sidewalks. I had to drive my kids to the bus stop, pick them up. We get that. With this parcel, the way that it's set up with, if we were to do like the 7 or 6 lots, you can't fit a cul-de-sac in there. So it's just, it would be like a hammerhead turnaround in there, which is not necessarily ideal. There was something else you just told me to say, but I don't remember. What's that? You can't, it doesn't fit. But we've already cleared that with Spencer there, that it doesn't fit with a cul-de-sac in there. But I think one of the things too is what Chris said, you know, we're not a faceless developer. We're not trying to slam a million of these in there. We'd be involved. We would like them for our own children. We have 3 little girls, another little girl on the way. We would like to have them available for our own kids as well. So we're not just trying to make a mini development.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Millie Lewis and I own a parcel that backs to that lot in the Birch Circle there in the Aspen Meadows. I just wanted to echo what everybody else from our neighborhood has said, that well, I understand their want for doing the townhouses, and keeping it as single family houses just fits better with the area and the community. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do I need to read this letter or?
We have it in the public record.
So we don't need to
where
read
we
it.
have meetings that are not limited in attendance. You don't have to read it out, but you're more than welcome to if you would like.
Commission, do you want to hear this letter?
Sure. Let's hear it for the record. Yeah.
Okay. To whom it may concern, we would like to address the proposal to rezone the property located approximately 400 East, 2700 North in North Logan to multifamily residential. Our home and property is in direct contact with this specific area, and we are concerned about the negative impacts that would occur if this rezoning is completed. This is not a good idea for a higher density housing situation. Just some of our concerns are the close approximation of a multifamily zoned area in the middle of and in direct contact with single family residential will weaken the appeal to future home buyers looking in this area. It will upset the flow, look, and function of the larger surrounding residential area. We are also concerned about the exponential increase of traffic on 400 East, which is a primary road used by local residents to access other parts of the city. It is already a busy road. It is also the road that becomes very busy with young children walking to and from school multiple times a day. These children walk along and cross at different locations on 400 East in close proximity to this plot of land. The road will become jammed up with the increase of traffic as well as the inevitable increase in parked cars along the street. Please consider this is not a large plot of land and will not have adequate parking for the residents' vehicles as well as their guests. This means high traffic and parking along a road where little children are walking and crossing. This is a major safety concern to our families and kids. We are requesting the said property be zoned only as single-family residents. Thank you, Denham and Brooke Arnoldson. Okay. No one has we've taken care of all the comments, so we'll close this public hearing and open it up to commission to discuss your thoughts and feelings. Any thoughts?
Dwight, you look like you're ready to.
Well, is it inappropriate to ask, was it Larson's? Sure. Is it okay to ask, was it Larson's, Mr. Larson?
Larson.
Okay. Okay, Clarkson, I'm sorry, I apologize for that. Anyway, what's your vision of the number of units?
So it was really hard. That's why the zoning, because you have like city center adjacent zone as adjacent zoning, and then you have your RM increments. And the setbacks and everything change depending on which, so it depends. The way I've laid it out, that's another reason I didn't want to do like a proposed plot plan, because then it could just be picked apart. And it's something I'd rather plan together and make it work, make sure there's enough parking, open space. There's plenty of space for parking and open space in there. So the parking concern, there's plenty of room on that parcel for the buildings and parking, which is something we would definitely want to make sure that there's something there also. So anywhere, four or five plexes with plenty of open space should fit, but it's something we can't really, we're up to whatever you guys say on the zoning and setbacks regardless. The multiplier for the square footage, I think you could fit up to 23 lots on that RM other or the RM5. If you take the amount of square footage and the size of the units, it figured 23. So 20 is underneath that multiplier.
Thank you. Appreciate the information.
Heron Hoyt question, Chris, what's the dimension of the property there?
I want to say it's like 555 feet deep and 240 wide, if I remember right. I'm not sure. 170.
170 wide and
I think it's about 550 deep.
yeah, about 550.
So,
the other
so
direction.
if we were to do the road along the south side, the units kind of running. So road here and then units this way. Do like an alley road, so you have like a road coming in, an alley going to the garages, open space, alley going to the garages, more open space, and then trying to put the parking lot at the back edge. And then as well as parking spaces. in each unit. There is enough space to do that with the fiveplex. The fiveplexes would be 50 feet wide by 25 feet wide, so you could get a substantial garage to be wide enough to fit 2 vehicles in. If it's under 25 feet wide, you can't quite get a 20-foot wide garage. So that was kind of where we came up with that number. So
Heron Hoyt, another question. What is the square footage of each one of those units?
it'd be roughly 25 by 50. So that's like the main floor kind of footprint. So they're what about 1,500? I say.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Eric.
And you're go ahead. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
have any
thanks.
questions for you. Thanks. So to me, as I look at this, the biggest issue far and away is you got zoning that is, R112, and that's what is that empty parcel is now. And the reason for zoning is so you have similar uses in the same spot. Yes, I understand that there's stuff that's across the street. That was before zoning really was much of a thing in North Logan. And unless I see a good reason to, to change that zoning, they say it was put there for a reason and I would keep it. And so as I look at it, that's my rationale. I just do not see anything that would justify changing the zoning.
Kenny? you
Yeah,
have-
I would echo that too. I think, the spot zoning kind of disrupts the surrounding areas as well as the city plan that's been put into place. So I think in order to maintain that continuity there and consistency with the city plan, it would make sense to retain the R112 zoning.
I've driven by and looked at that, and I have to agree with Eric and Kenny. I think it's the reason we have zoning is to help our city and help the residents of the city. And there's a purpose for the zoning. As I looked at that property and the surrounding neighborhoods, I agree that we need to keep it. I feel like we need to keep it R112 as it's zoned. And if there's 7 homes that go in there, great, or whatever they can fit. But that's my feeling too.
I think it's
Karen?
important for our from the planning standpoint that we try to maintain a homogeneous and continuity of flow through the city. And I think we've worked pretty hard for the last couple of years to do that. And this just doesn't seem like it's the right fit to change the zone here. So
I'm a little concerned also with the open-ended idea of the other.
The RM zoning.
Yeah, so that makes me a little nervous. So Heron, do you have something?
I have the question I have is about fire situations and safety, those concerns with that narrow a piece of property, how a fire truck would get down there and back out. There's no way for the fire truck to turn around anywhere in there and then get back out. I think there's a safety issue in that. So I'd really like to keep it as an R112. It's my feeling. So anyway.
Right. Are we ready to make a motion? Someone?
Madam Chair, I move that we, I guess in this case, we're denying the request.
You're
and-
giving a recommendation,
Pardon me?
a positive or negative recommendation
Yeah.
to the city council.
Yeah, we, in this particular case, we give it a negative recommendation and that we are on record to maintain the R112 zoning. That's the motion.
Second.
All right, so it's been moved by Dwight and seconded by Eric that we give a negative recommendation to a zone change on this, on parcel there. We recommend that it stay as it is zoned as an R112. All in favor?
Aye.
No, any opposed? All right. Thank you. You can stay or you can go, whatever you want. All right, on to item number 2. Consideration and possible, Eric Spencer, do you want to tell us about item number 2?
Yes.
Folks, if you can please
Just
leave the
1
room.
minute, yeah. Can you please talk outside, please? Thank you. Thanks for coming. All right, Spencer, you tell us about number 2.
Okay, so this one is an application for a commercial subdivision on, it's at, 2300 North Main Street is the address there. It's currently 2 parcels. You can see I'm highlighting on the screen. The application's by JS Ward Investments. So the proposal on this concept plan is to split these 2 parcels into 5 different parcels. It's a pretty straightforward split. There's not a lot of infrastructure here. Public frontage along Main Street, but no other roads that are in there. There's already utilities. The idea for splitting these is that development will come in over time. And with a commercial subdivision, a lot of times these lines are created and it's subdivided into a different parcel. There are no setbacks in commercial zones as long as they're adjacent to a commercial zone. So you'll see buildings go across lines sometimes or right up to the line. And really the applicant wants to have that flexibility to have them under different parcels to be able to build and make financing work at different phases as the need arises for their business and as it comes up. So it gives them a lot of flexibility there. This is the concept plan. So you can see the existing building here. It is hatched out here in this concept plan.
What's that building, Spencer?
Carpets of America.
Okay.
So, and correct me if I got that name wrong. Jason's here. He's met with us, come in and sat down with us a few times, and we've talked over this. He actually had this proposed and drawn up years ago with previous city staff and didn't get it recorded at that time. So just coming back in, meeting with us, doing it the right way and getting it recorded at this time.
So that building would remain spanning across 2 of those parcels then?
Yeah, or go ahead.
Can you come to the microphone, please?
Jason Ward. So there's a fire rated cinder block wall right there. It really, I think it was built as 2 separate phases. And that was the recommended spot by the engineer architects that wrote this up. I had it all approved like 5 years ago, and I didn't record it because it would just cause my property taxes to go up. And the point of doing it is to be able to that's one big piece of property with a big loan on it. And for me to go in and like, I want to update the front, you know, on the Main Street side and make it modern. And we need more warehousing. We'd like to do in addition here. But, you know, no bank wants to come in and be second position on an existing big loan. This would allow me to be able to get separate financing for the phases as they go. So that's the purpose.
Jason, is that one on the left section, is that where Cash Cycles and Sleds was? Is that where it was there?
IFA, this is North Star, our outdoors is in the front. Our business is here. And then long-term would probably demolish this building that's back here.
That was the
You know, all-
repair shop and auto
Yeah.
repair shop, so I remember.
Yeah. Which is still there and functioning, but you know, the goal is to, you know, we got bigger goals, but we've got to start with, can't do any of it without financing, so.
And what's your business?
Carpets of
Oh, yeah,
America.
carpets. Okay.
And we grew out of our space, and so I have a big warehouse in Logan, and I'd much rather build a addition onto my building here instead of, you know, working out that.
And you also own the parcel to the east.
I own all
this?
that, and it
You own-
originally was one parcel when I bought it, and we split it into two
Okay.
10 years ago, and then 5 years ago, we were gonna make it into, you know, we had the downturn in 08, 09 that hurt us, because we had a lot of builders that owed us money during that period of time, so things got slowed down. But
So,
now we're healthy and we're good, and we'd like to add on.
Mhm. So if the parcel's in the back, say the one on the very end, that
Yes.
one, if you were to sell that off to somebody else,
Uh-huh.
how would it be accessed?
So it has two right of ways. I have it recorded with it. There'd be a right of way here that lines up with this approach. And then there's the road that technically I own that's, you know, used by those other businesses. Or at least I get to pay the taxes for it.
Okay.
And they can both come out.
So
onto
there's
the
really
highway.
good access, and the main street's been updated. It's got deceleration, acceleration lanes. Utilities are all stubbed. These parcels already. Years ago. When the road went in. And I had it all approved with, you know, 5 years ago, I just didn't pull the trigger because it didn't make sense to raise my taxes. But now I'm hoping it is.
Okay. Any other questions for Jason?
Spencer, any issues with fire vehicles access when you have 5 units versus 2?
No,
Or-
no, and really, Jason hit it on the head. They have access through easements. It would be private access. Commercial is a little bit different. So that exactly what that road would be, the widths of the road, things like that, would come in as each parcel was developed. So when a parcel is developed commercially, say there's an expansion on a warehouse, Jason comes in, he'd bring in his plans with his building permit plans, get a design review really quickly, and they'll all the fire and everybody will check off on it at that point as well. So he's got the right of ways and easements there that's needed for access on this one to be developed, and then the details will be ironed out at the time of
As
development on those parcels. Yep.
Okay.
Quick question, Jason, how many acres is in that?
Well, I thought it was 4.7, but it looks like 4.4 on here. But
I said approximately because I don't know
I think
as
it's
good as your survey.
4.7.
4.7 acres.
I think that's what the tax note or tax notice says.
Good.
About that.
Okay. Any other questions for Jason? Anybody? Any comments? It looks good to me.
I
think it-
I would approve that, send a positive recommendation to the city council with that.
Are you making a motion, Aaron?
Would you like me to?
Are we ready?
Aaron Toyd, I move that we send a positive recommendation to the city council on the development of this piece of property.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Heron moved, Dwight seconded it to make a positive recommendation for the concept plan for commercial subdivision located approximately 2300 Main Street. Do we need any more?
Nope.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Thank you. All right, let's move on to item number 3. Spencer, give us details.
Yes, so this is one, this is a development plan. So it's a subdivision we're familiar with. It's come in front of the Planning Commission and City Council a couple times now. The applicant has been diligent in making revisions and helping make this work for the city and the development as well. I'll pull up this development plan for the horse pasture subdivision. I had it named Maloof subdivision in previous applications. This is the name we have for now. It might adjust a little bit, but it holds to the history of the land. It's at approximately 1800 east, 2800 north. And this subdivision includes 10 lots. The revised concept plan was approved by the city council in the their last meeting. So this is coming in for development plan where we're looking more at the details. Nick Porter, the applicant, who has come in and met with us a couple different times. We talked a little bit about utilities. They rearranged some things. There's another subdivision that we will be seeing in the coming meetings as well, that we're trying to make sure things line up with utility wise to the south and to the south west. And they've been very good at working both together and with the city on that. So essentially, they've got their plans for utilities, utility easements. The sewer line would come out through the west and again would connect into that other subdivision that's to the west here. You can see that here that's proposed. And like I said, that will come in the future. That orange line here is the sewer that will go down into 16th East there. As far as the staff recommendations and comments on this, there are a couple things that we're still working with the developer on, and they're still working to get. So there's a list that if it does get a positive recommendation tonight, it would need to include these recommendations, or the Planning Commission can decide to table it and wait as well if that's what they choose to do, what you choose to do. The first one being a soils report. That one was recommended and required by the City Council. The applicant is working on that. They've been on the site. They've done the test. He just doesn't have the report. He's likely going to get that next week. So if that got a recommendation tonight, we'd want to see that and have it reviewed and approved by our engineer before City Council approval. The next thing is the secondary irrigation system. So they have been in talks with the canal company and have gotten verbal. They've been in several different meetings, met with canal company on site representatives, and have gotten verbal approval for a head gate there to service east of the canal, that subdivision, which would be very nice and make water conservation a lot easier. Otherwise, they have to do the water conservation plan that we recently passed. So we do need to see something in writing from the canal company or a stamp or a signature on a secondary irrigation plan. The applicant is working on getting that in writing. It's just communicating between the canal company and ourselves to make sure that we get what we need to be assured that that's the case. We don't want to end up at the end of the day, it gets built and then the canal company comes back and says, no, we never said that you could do that. And then they have to connect to culinary and we weren't really prepared through the approvals. So the applicant is working on that. That's something we want to see before City Council.
So they at least received a verbal
Yes.
approval from Cash Highline on that?
Yes,
Okay.
that's my understanding. We've talked with representatives from the canal company as well. They just haven't gotten anything written, which we'd like to see.
Was this property previously under the canal water rights?
I don't believe it was water was secondary previously, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Nick has a little more of the history on it, but they have expressed that it is in their service area now. So they will serve it. Again, we'd like to see that in
yeah.
writing, written approval of the head gate or the plan.
That's what I would like to see
yeah.
too, before water's a big deal. And I think it's nice that they have a verbal agreement, but I think it would be hard for me to sign off on this until we see a written,
Yep.
a written document from them.
And then I'll touch base on just one last thing, and then Nick probably will want to get up and speak a little bit more to that. He's been the one meeting on the site with Canal Company and such. The last point in there is just a development agreement. Usually we have a draft in that development agreement, which outlines essentially basically the responsibilities of the developer. They agree to different development standards, things like that. We'll both sign it, both parties, the city and the developer, at the final plat stage. But we'd want a draft of that to be completed before city council approval. So those are the three things that would need to be made conditional if a recommendation is given tonight. Yeah, just from the staff report wise. Again, Nick may have more to fill in there than I did.
What is the zoning around this property?
Sorry, I didn't touch on that. Yes, this is RE1 zoning, and the development is being developed as an RE1 subdivision. So it's actually 2 lots, I believe, shy of what the maximum is, or 1 lot shy of what they're allowed density wise. They're going to build 10 lots on the acreage that they have. So it fits the surrounding development.
Okay. Nick, did you want to?
Yeah, so to touch on water, because I think that's probably the thing that we're hung up on here. I've met with the canal board. I did that about a month ago. They have no issues with water on this area. It actually has been serviced by secondary water. There's like a spout right here already, but that's irrelevant to the canal company. They actually don't have an issue going east of the canal. I think that's there's some misinformation floating out there with that. What they care about is water shares per number of acres you have, and that's what they're really most interested in. Gordon Yonker and myself were actually on site with Jason Morgado, who's the COO of the canal company this morning, discussing where we would put the diversion, where the sewer is going to cross, et cetera. I'm happy to get that in writing from the canal company. I'd ask that you don't hold this up by approving it conditional upon that. You're already saying, hey, you can continue forward so we don't just stall out. But one of the things that you need in order to have that is their permission. So from my perspective, I'd hate to see like, I got to come back in here just when I could have that ready for city council in a few weeks. And then, if I don't have it by city council, well, they're not going to obviously approve it because it's one of the conditions. So then it would stall out at that point. Any questions for me?
How many shares of water do you have for that parcel?
So we are in the process of acquiring, we currently own 4, and we've been talking to Lyle Thornley, who's the treasurer of the canal company, and he has multiple people that are willing to lease those to us. So this is going to be we're going to lease the shares, and it'll be managed by our HOA, which is pretty
Lease.
typical.
When I hear lease, so that tells me that it could be retracted.
Yeah.
Right.
It's,
You can put in your lease 99 years. I mean, everything's retractable. City code changes all the time. I feel like nothing's permanent in life, but the canal company could shut down tomorrow. Logan River could dry up. Like, we could drill more wells, et cetera.
I think water is one of our big concerns, but Spencer, you were saying there were maybe some other concerns that we might want to consider also in this.
Yeah, there were a
Right.
couple things that will,
Okay.
Nick is working on, that we'll just need to see, definitely before city council that I have listed in the staff report. Just that soils report, that development agreement, and then it was the secondary water too. So, if there is a positive recommendation, staff's, recommendation with that is just to include those as conditions. You can always, elect to wait and see those as planning commission before you send it on as well. Yeah, there's a couple different ways to do it.
Spencer, is there, just for clarification, is there any other issues other than the 3 staff recommendations that you've listed?
No, we've actually been able to sit down and work through, there was question marks that we worked through on stormwater, on the road cross section. So we met with Nick, talked about road cross section and the curb style. It was originally going to be a low impact development, flat curb and swale. With the slope in the area, our public works department and engineering recommended that go to high back. He made that change. So that's regular high back curb. And then his stormwater was basically, oh, why am I forgetting? Injection well is the term where re-injects that stormwater into the ground. They changed that to be a basin, and that was a request from our public works and engineering. So we actually had several things that we had comments on, that Nick has met with us, worked through, made revisions, and come back with a revised plan. So really, it's just those 3 things that we'll get and review that he has left.
Okay. One
So-
other question, if I may, and that's this, some of the issues that you've talked about seem to be contingent upon a subdivision to the south
Southwest.
Right.
of
As
of
far
this
as
particular parcel. So what if that doesn't happen? That
Yeah, no, that's a good question. There isn't anything contingent on that subdivision to the south that would stop this subdivision. I think the biggest thing is the sewer line needs to go south because we need to make sure that is going downhill. For obvious reasons, the sewer line needs to continue to go downhill. So they had to come out to the west and come down through that future alignment. So say that subdivision doesn't go through, and we have already received an application concept plan that will be on the next agenda. So if that doesn't go through, essentially it will just mean that Nick with this subdivision has paid for sewer line entirely for this subdivision that maybe isn't then paid for by the next subdivision. It wouldn't necessarily be a city concern as far as this subdivision not being able to function because the other subdivision didn't go through. It's more of a future planning, and it's been great heads up work from Nick and the other subdivision applicants to stay in close communication along with the city and make sure they fit well, so we don't have multiple redundant sewer lines or things not match up well. So, but there's nothing that would mean this couldn't stand on its own.
So I don't worry too much about the soils and the other one. I really hesitate about the water until we have something definite. And I know you guys have worked on this, but it makes me a little nervous to say contingent upon this when we know they only have 4 shares
Right.
total.
Yeah.
Maybe this is going to happen. Maybe they'll lease it. Maybe they'll go out of business. That's my concern.
I echo that same thing, Madam Chairman. I'm reluctant to push this thing through with these ifs, which are really big ifs for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Yeah, until I see something that is definitive with regard to the water stuff. And again, if all 3 are met, then it's good, and in 2 weeks it moves on. But without that, and the water's the principal among them, but the fact that we've got multiple things feels to me like there's not, I'd rather not go forward until everything's met.
Okay. Any other?
Yeah, and Nick, we appreciate your efforts with the city. It sounds like you have a good working relationship with the city, and so appreciate your.
Yeah, thanks.
efforts there?
I'm gonna be out of the country in 2 weeks and you only have one meeting in April and is it gonna be before city council in April? Because if not, I'm missing 2 months.
So the next, when we'll have a little discussion on the next planning commission meeting, that would be the end of March, is when that next one would be. I'm going to be out at a conference, which we'll discuss. I think we're going to try to hold a meeting still, with maybe Alan running it. Then there will be another meeting at the beginning of April. So that would be city council and planning commission. So if we have a meeting at the end of March, that would be the next one. And then there would be that meeting in April. You'd hit planning commission end of March, city council in April. The only thing that could potentially throw a wrench in that plan is if we can't get enough planning commissioners for that next meeting in March, and I'm not sure what schedules are. I know Nan isn't going to be around. We may try to shift dates, but I don't know as far as that goes. But you should be able to still hit city council in April before that gap.
Yeah. All of those variables are secondary to the primary issue of what we have before us now and what the current circumstances are, in my opinion. And I move we make a negative recommendation with this.
You can just table it as well. Yeah.
Pardon me?
You can just move to table it. So that way you don't have to, read anything. You can just move.
I move we table this particular request then.
I second that. Aaron Hoyt.
Okay, it's been moved by Dwight and second by
Aaron.
Aaron did it, to just table the consideration for this.
For the development or
Development.
the
Subdivision.
development.
The
plan, yeah.
subdivision, what's it called? Horse
Horse
pasture?
Horse pasture.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. All right. Thank you. Now we're updates regarding the North Logan City transportation plan.
Yes, so I'll give a little introduction to remind everybody about this plan. We have Lloyd Sutton here. He's been the mastermind working on this as his master's thesis, and he's done a fantastic job. We'll keep it brief. We've had a long meeting, but I'll have Lloyd kind of step through it. This essentially is looking at the entire city and the framework we have as far as non-vehicular transportation. So walking, biking, all the different ways to get around that don't involve a motor, active transportation, recreation is part of that. And he's done a great job at looking all of our existing infrastructure. We've met and done workshops and talked about counting locations. He's gone and done those counts. Compiled a lot of data, done a lot of research and digging, and he's going to be defending his thesis and finalizing this plan, defending the thesis actually next week, and he's just done a great job. This is just a discussion point. He'll review it. We'll formally adopt this in the coming weeks and months to get it into our plan, but I'll have him step through the highlights for you, and then you can ask any questions.
Thanks.
Hi, thanks for having me. You can scroll down to page 11. Just going to run through a couple quick points for this. We've had a lot of involvement from different stakeholders. One more page, I think.
One more page?
One more, sorry. I think the page numbers might be a little different. So yeah, we've had over 35 stakeholder meetings for this, 6 public presentations in city council and planning commission, a handful of volunteer hours. And then a big thing was a public survey where we had 245 responses and 181 comments. And then I was able to document a lot of the existing conditions. You can scroll down through like page 39, where we just took an inventory of what things are like currently in North Logan, different sidewalk gaps that we have, bike lanes, etc. And then it all leads up to the recommendations, which are on page, I think it's 65 or maybe 67 on yours. Up one page, yeah. And so we just have a map of recommendations for the city, giving guidelines on where, when future development comes in, where trails and sidewalk connections will go. And then as well as different options for the city to reach out for funding to implement places that are already developed. For example, on 1600 East, it's calling out another additional multi-use trail connecting to the new one on 3100 North. And then I've been working with Spencer to kind of close in a box around the city of North Logan City of trails where people could essentially have access on foot or bike, no matter where they live in the city, and be able to get back and forth between Main Street, up and down to Green Canyon, etc. And then if you scroll down just a few pages, there's just some like conceptual diagrams, 2 more pages, I think. Yeah, right here. Just showing examples of what the designs could look like on certain places, like the one on the left on 1600 East, implementing a new shared use path with some lane markings, a bike lane on 1800 North, along with an additional trail, and then multi-use path connecting to the new BMX park and Elk Ridge Park. And then mainly we just wanted to have it in your guys' folder so you could review it before it's adopted by city council in the coming months. So is there any questions?
Question, what's the, I see the bike markings and so forth. How does that impact the width of the road that are already there?
So for the most part, the lane markings coincide with the existing lane widths already. For the example, on 1800 North, there's already a bike lane painted into the shoulder, but the painting is faded and it doesn't have the proper markings. It's mostly signed. So it works within the existing lane widths. It doesn't require for any road widening on any of the recommendations, with the exception, I think, 12th East, where it's already planned to go north of where it does now. There will be an additional bike lane there, but that will be implemented at the time that the road is paved through there.
So I see on this 1600 East, there's a bike marking right there in the middle of the lane.
And that's considered a shared lane marking. It's similar to what's been done in Logan City and follows some of the county's recommendations. And it's just giving motorists notification that bikes can also use the lane. And bikes are currently using the lane already, which is perfectly legal to do so. It's just giving additional visual indicators, notifying people that bikes will ride there as well.
And then the walking path on 1600, is that to be painted on there where the walkers are, or? Because I walk on 1600 and it's scary. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not paint. That would be an
Right.
asphalt
So it's
trail
asphalt
similar
there.
to 3100 North in the right of way, not
Okay.
on the existing roadway.
Yeah.
And then it would have some separation between the actual roadway and the
Like this.
and the path. Yeah. It'd have to go through a little bit more and in the design phase of the project, depending on the width of right of way, et cetera. But it would be a separated path, similar to what's on Wolfpack Way or 3100 North.
Great.
Hey, Lloyd, could you just talk for a minute about along canals, if that is included, not included, would be included? the
Yeah,
status of
you
canal?
can actually scroll down another page. Scroll up a little bit more. Oh, yeah. So one of the things in the public survey was specifically about canal trails, and we had a lot of really good feedback from the community about canal trails. Most of our comments were actually regarding the canal corridors. And so there's a few things that have to happen with that. Mainly the legal precedence between public property owners and the canal easements that exist. So in some conditions, the parcel ends before the canal easement, and then there is an area that the county has the parcel in order to put a trail through. And in other places, there's some discrepancy on where the parcel ends, whether it goes to the middle of the canal or to the easement. Most of those are like the older parcels. And so there's some things that have to be worked out for that to be officially incorporated as a trail. But there are some areas where the city could go in and implement that as a trail already. For example, next to Elk Ridge Park, those are city-owned parcels. And some of those could have an official trail incorporated now. But there's a lot of public input on desiring to use those as trails. And then we've also talked with the county because this is not just a North Logan issue. The canals run through the entire county. And in the recommendations, I believe it discusses the county kind of taking the lead on some of the legal precedents, since it's not just a North Logan issue. I don't know if you had any additional questions.
I mean,
on that.
it just sounds like then there's kind of a patchwork. There's sections, yes, sections, no.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, the main thing is I think the legal precedents in ownership and easements and what easements allow us to do, whether there's a prescriptive easement, since people have been using some of those sections of trails for years. And that really needs to be done. I think the county attorney would have to do some work there.
So my understanding, right, those canal easements are owned by private owners, and it's up to them whether they allow, I know they have to allow the canal company that easement, but whether they allow public access is up to them.
Yeah, so some of the parcels, there's a maintenance easement along them, and then some of the parcels, like I said, are owned by the county.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a very complex issue. As far as the active transportation plan goes, Lloyd has those areas listed on the plan. So it continues to be as we're operating now, where we'll adopt this plan. If a development comes in and they have a section of either multi-use path along 1600 or along a canal, they're required to both dedicate an easement, not only for maintenance, but for public use, and improve the trail to our specification. So they'll need to put that in just like we have now. So he's got all those listed on the plan. And then like Lloyd said, it's a complicated issue, and it varies. Eric hit the nail on the head. It's kind of patchwork. Some places it's county ownership. Some places it's just a maintenance agreement. Sometimes there's property going all the way across. And it is a very difficult subject because there's a lot of people that want to walk on those canal trails, and they're a great asset to the city. They've been around a long time, but also there is an impact of private property owners and a strong desire from those owners not to have something going that's detrimental to their property. So it's not an issue that Lloyd was able to tackle and solve as part of this plan. He's amazing, has done a fantastic job, but there's only so much a mortal like Lloyd can do. But he did collect some great comments and compiled them here, which is useful in exploring the issue further as well. So.
Thank you.
Lloyd, one question for you, please, and that's you've based your recommendations on certain criteria. Does that include federal, state, and county guidelines as well?
Yeah, so it aligns with, the county has an active transportation plan, and it aligns and connects with the recommendations in that plan. It also connects to the neighboring cities' plans, which Logan City is the only one that has an active transportation plan. And then it follows like guidelines given by like the National Association of City Transportation Officials, NACTO. So it follows like their recommendations for like how to actually put it on the ground. And then I also worked with UDOT on the state roads, so Main Street and Airport Road, making sure the recommendations on there align with what they see acceptable and what they will allow to. So I worked closely with a lot of different organizations to make sure that it lined up with everything that's.
And everything is ADA accessible as well.
Yes, it should be. But again, that will come down to the design phase. And these are just more either solid or dashed lines on the map showing where facilities will go. And I can add in specific ADA recommendations that they be incorporated. But that would be something that would be further done in the design phase.
Thank you. I
Yep.
think this looks great.
Yeah, appreciate your
Good
work on
luck.
it.
Good
Yeah,
luck with your
thank you.
dissertation.
Yeah,
you know?
thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah, and can
Thank
we
you.
make a recommendation that he receive his master's?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
I'll be
We'll
at
give you
his-
Jeff's, we'll give you Jeff's candy bar. How's that?
There we go. Well, the only comment we had as city staff when we saw it was just, it's a little short. I mean, 98 pages. No, he's done a great job.
Yeah.
It has. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Spencer, question on this. Is there any
Yes.
chance that these that are privately owned and private people said, no, I'm not going to go for that, that they would have to public domain to get these trails along? Because where I am right now in my neighborhood, there are gates blocking those
Yeah.
canal routes.
Yeah,
for
you
those.
know, that's something we like to try to avoid it at all costs. And unless we know for a certainty that there's something improper and unjust that is really glaringly obvious that needs to be taken care of, I don't think we're going to get that heavy-handed. But we'll kind of work with the county and explore both the legal precedent and I think the main direction right now is to just find out the facts, find out what the rights actually are, because we do want to be careful not to overstep any bounds. So we'll start with other approaches first, and if it gets to that point, and we'll have to be very sure before that. And there are a whole bunch of steps before we would get there.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much, Lloyd.
Thanks.
Great
I think
job.
It's a
Yeah,
great
thank you,
idea.
Lloyd.
Thank you.
Okay, Spencer, any staff business discussion?
Yes, so the main thing is that scheduling. So I am just gonna pull up a calendar here. Our next meeting is slated for the 24th of March. I'm going to be gone in Kanab.
I'm gonna be
Don't
gone.
everybody get jealous at once. From the 22nd on to the 25th. So I will not be here. I spoke with Alan briefly. It's this time of year is particularly busy with developments coming in, building permits. The snow is, I mean, it just flew. So we just have more, which is fantastic. Hopefully it keeps coming. But this time of year, as the snow starts melting, you get a lot of people that are hoping to get things off the ground and get going developmental wise. So I did talk with him and he was willing to do just an abbreviated agenda to get a couple things through. One of those would probably be the Smiling H, potentially the horse pasture. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the Yonker subdivision that has a concept plan submitted that we can discuss further would be on that. There are a couple options. So Alan could run a shortened agenda. That would be dependent on having enough planning commissioners. Nan won't be here. We could also look to move the date, I would say, to the 31st. That gets a little tricky because then we have a meeting again on the 7th. So it's lining us up for back-to-back meetings. But it would make it so applicants wouldn't be held up before they got to that city council meeting on the 6th. Like Nick brought up, that second meeting in April is canceled. That's right over the Utah League of Cities and Towns conference. So city council members and hopefully a couple planning commission members will be down in St. George at that conference potentially. So I don't know thoughts. I don't know if people are going to be here around on the 24th. I know Nan won't, but I don't know if we're gonna have a quorum. We need at least 3. Eric won't be here because he's
done
his time. Done a
Eric?
great job. That was gonna be my next announcement, but we'll talk this thing before we get to the sad things.
Yes. What do you think? I'm gonna be gone on the 24th. I don't know where Jeff is. Haven't heard from him.
As far as I know, I'll be here.
I'm available.
I should be here too.
Okay, so we'll have at least 3. And then depending on Jeff, and we may have another planning commission member actually appointed. Lindsay has reached out to me and said she's got people in mind. She's planning on appointing them in the next city council meeting. So they may be freshly appointed the day before. I'll make sure to get them into my office before then, before I go, so that they're not too lost in that first meeting. But
So if Jeff's not around, would Dwight be willing to chair that meeting? Do we need to figure that out? If Jeff's not, I don't know if he's gonna be here or not on the 24th.
yeah,
I do that.
okay. So it sounds like we'll have enough. Alan, are you still okay with? Appreciate that. He'll have to do double back-to-back meetings, so I apologize. I'll owe Alan one, but I'm not gonna run city council, so that'll be something else. The other thing is just that conference I am going to in a couple weeks. I think I can still get people signed up if there's any. It didn't sound like there's anybody who had that schedule, but just reach out to me and let me know. Also, the Utah League of Cities and Towns. We do have travel and training budget for planning commissioners. It is good to go hear from the state, different cities, network. If you're going to be around, it's in St. George. So there would be a hotel and conference. We have budget probably to send maybe one. And there's another conference in Salt Lake at the end of the year, Utah League of Cities and Towns. So if anybody's interested, I don't know, maybe I'll ask that up front for the end of April. We can pick one and then and see who would be on the other one. Is anybody interested? Would anybody be interested in that? It's a couple days. I can't remember the exact dates, Alan. Is it the 22nd, 21st? Yes. 20 through the 22nd of April. So anybody on the planning commission feeling like that would be something they'd be interested in? If not, I understand it's another thing, but
I would be interested, but I have a work commitment that would prevent me from going now.
okay. We've got some time, so let me know. Keep in touch.
So.
What's the date on that, Alan?
The Utah League in September is actually the end of September, beginning of October. It's always the first week of September, actually later. I don't know if we've got it on there. They've got the mid-year. I know they've got a calendar. We can look at it, but annual convention looks like it's October 5th through the 7th. Oh. And Dwight made it to that one last year with us. That was the first time it was at that venue, but it's always in Salt Lake, that fall one, and this spring one is always in St. George. So
it was great.
Yeah, it is helpful.
Well, if anybody decides to take Spencer up on the St. George one, no, because we might be a short committee if somebody goes. So,
Oh yeah, that is true. Well, I guess the St. George one is not the Kanab one. So the St. George one is the end of April.
Oh,
That meeting will be canceled. So we don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
But let me know. And also for this next conference that I'm at, I will send an agenda. They send out a finalized one as we get a little closer. I'll send out an agenda that has all the different course lists, the trainings. And if you see anything in there that you're particularly interested in, I'll be sure I'm in that room and take notes. I'll give a little rundown after I get back. So I'll just email that out probably next week when I get a finalized agenda.
Okay. Anything else, Spencer?
The last thing is just to say thank you to Eric Hansen on the planning commission. He's been on the commission for 3 years, came in the same time as Nan. And actually I was hired. I think my first planning commission meeting was with Nan and Eric at their first planning commission meeting. So it's going to be strange not to have him up there. Eric's done a fantastic job. I think has been very fair and very just a lot of integrity there, and sticking to the way he sees it, right or wrong, is not budge from that. So we just are really appreciative. We've got a plaque on its way. We'll present that to you in City Council, and I just wanted to say thank you for all the service the past 3 years.
All right, thank you.
I want to second that.
Good work with some good people here, both up here and down there as well. So thank you. It's been a great opportunity.
We can give Eric the candy bar.
You've promised that out like 3 times now. yeah.
I know. Yeah. Get a little popcorn. Thanks, Eric. I don't know how to do this without you here. I don't know. It kind of makes me nervous. So, all right, that's it, Spencer?
That's it from
Hey,
me.
we have a motion to, what are we doing? Adjourning.
Well, wait just a
Oh,
minute.
wait,
Okay.
wait, Dwight.
Planning Commissioner business discussion.
Oh.
Okay. I wasn't able to make the last meeting, so I tried to tune in, whether it's Zoom or
The YouTube link.
or YouTube, whatever the case may be. And I just, it was evident that whenever we have a staff person speak, that's not coming through. So we need to document the wisdom that Alan gives without the benefit of a microphone. So I don't know if there's a way to get a microphone over there in the future so that the public can hear staff comments, or we're going to have to require that they come to the podium in order to speak. But it was just
Thanks. Thanks, Dwight.
something that I think we need to work on. And I think hopefully we can afford another microphone or bring another microphone, but it was hard to hear what was going on other than those people who were at the microphone. So
I appreciate that.
And we don't want to miss anything Alan has to say,
that's
right?
right.
How much was Marie nodding when you were saying that? I was looking at Dwight. Probably a lot. We'll have Alan come up to the mic when he's got to speak. That is a good point. And it's
That's
something
good.
we don't realize because
Yeah.
I'm not watching the YouTube. So thank you for that.
Right. Thank you, Dwight. All right. Now, are we ready to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Thank you. Eric made a motion to adjourn, seconded by, who seconded it?
Heron.
Oh, Heron seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And what's the score?
That's right.
That's right. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. And I've read a little bit. Spencer, some things up, so I hate to miss it, but not bad enough to stay. Yeah.
And I
good
started,
luck.
it's 30 days. Yeah.
Not another 4 years, but for a while.
So, yeah, I've got.
I have to have one beautiful person. That's always met. That's right.
Yeah. And the different, standard subdivision or density driven.
Are you?
Yeah.
Hey, congratulations on